Dopamine detoxing changed my life forever, but not in the way that you might think. Around 2 years ago, I saw the videos on YouTube popping off with all the big YouTubers making videos like a dopamine detox, how to reset your brain in 24 hours. And instantly I knew that that wasn't right. I knew that they were kind of lying. I don't know if you had the same feeling when you saw those videos of like how to reset your mind in 24 hours. I knew that it was just clickbait, that these guys were just titling this to get more views, and really you're not going to reset your brain in 24 hours. It's just unreasonable. But what I knew for a fact would work would be a long-term sustainable reduction in bad dopamines. Now, I'm not a scientist, and I'm sure there's someone who can critique this video and make, like the phrases I've used aren't very scientific, but the act of dopamine detoxing is just about stopping the bad dopamines, the bad habits that seem to give us a bit of a spike in enjoyment and pleasure today, like right now, but make our life worse in the long run. So this is called like instant gratification. So this comes from the bad things that we do that we know are pretty bad. Like, for example, eating junk food. We eat ice cream today. We eat ice cream and it tastes good. It makes us feel good. But we kind of know that later on, once the pleasure is gone from our tongue, the consequences remain. So ice cream feels good right now, but in the long run, fucks up our insulin, gives us extra body fat, gives us brain fog. We know that it's not good for us. Especially, unless if you're a fitness influencer trying to sell people programs and you tell them that they can eat anything they want, calories in, calories out, that's bullshit as well. But that's a separate note. I do want to expand on that though. Calories in, calories out is absolute fucking bullshit. And when I got onto dopamine detoxing, it was the first time where I actually took back control of my diet that I realized that the fitness influencers kind of hijacked. I saw all these like diseased, sick as in like the illness sick fitness influencers who have all got binge eating problems, mental health problems, recommending their audience to follow their diets. With you see them eating like Krispy Kremes and 10,000 calorie diets and everything, 10,000 calorie challenges where, oh, I can't wait to eat Krispy Kremes, and they're eating like, oh, today I just picked up like this Wendy's McNugget chicken burger. Like, they're just eating like children, bro. And I used to eat like that too. That was a little bit of a weird rant, but it really does fit in with the topic of the video with dopamine detoxing, because when you eat the ice cream today, or you eat like a fitness influencer, you eat the Krispy Kreme donut and the 10,000 calorie challenge, like when you do that stuff, it feels good right now, but it makes your life worse in the long run. And something that's a hard to swallow pill for many young men. This is the case with video games and anime. A lot of the very enjoyable things that a lot of young men are, very addicted to, they feel awesome right now. It feels nice. It feels so desirable right now. But you have this thought in the back of your mind which kind of says like, oh, I'm going to miss my deadline because of this. Or, oh, this is 2 hours that I'm not going to be studying for the exam that's coming up. You kind of know, like we all inherently know that video games, anime and stuff is somewhat bad for us. Now we can cope and say, oh no, it's actually good for us because it's a story that you're following along to, or your hand-eye coordination gets better, your memory skills get better, and those things are true. But we're not playing video games so that we can improve our memory. We're playing it to indulge. We're not watching anime for the sake of this philosophical mindset change. We're watching it just because it feels good right now. The issue is that when you do too many of these habits that feel good right now, but make your life worse in the long run, eventually your baseline happiness just goes down and down and down. And this is why dopamine detoxing got so popular, because so many people's happiness baseline is just totally tanked. And so when this is you, for example, if you want to know some of these symptoms, so you're one of these people with like a lowered happiness baseline, the things that used to give you pleasure and enjoyment don't anymore. So if you found yourself still, playing video games, still doing whatever habit, maybe watching porn and stuff, maybe eating junk food, maybe taking drugs, but they don't give you like the same high as they used to. Video games aren't as fun anymore. You need to smoke a lot more weed to actually get like a high. And when you do get high, it's not even that nice anymore. The same with really any drug. The first time you used to start drinking alcohol, it was so lit, it was so exciting. Now it's like you drink just to get like to the old baseline. You drink, it's like, it's not even as fun. It makes you like just weird and groggy and angry, and you get way more of the negatives. The baseline just seems to decrease, and you're just not as happy as you used to be. It's a very, very sad place to be in. And I fear that a large part of the population, especially the young people, are struggling with this without really identifying the issue, which is just instant gratification overload, dopamine overload. And again, this probably isn't like real scientific, right? Maybe there's someone who can correct me with the science here. The act of dopamine detoxing, the way that I did it, I am sure, and I promise you, is better than any other person who's ever spoke about the term dopamine detoxing before. Because every other video that I saw, quite frankly, I'm just going to be honest, every YouTuber that I saw who made a video on dopamine detoxing was making one to get views. I could see right through them, and maybe you could too, but I could see right through all of the guys. You've seen their YouTube channels. I won't really name them. Fuck it, I will. Andrew Kirby, Nicholas. There was a somewhat recent one where he got like 10 million views. You probably saw that. It's really nice, like camera photography and everything. Nicholas. Project Master, like there's another one, there's another self-improvement YouTuber who's got 400k. Nice videos, beautifully made videos, amazing storytelling, amazing editing, quite a lot of dopamine in the like dopamine in the editing, fast-paced action, music and stuff. Yeah, it's a weird kind of way to edit your video when you're talking about dopamine detoxing, isn't it? But at least for me, I watched those videos and I didn't see any authenticity in the creators of those videos, and it was clear to me that they were making videos for views and not actually to educate their followings and to like actually help people out there. When I first started making my videos, in fact, when I first started going onto my own dopamine, because I went on a dopamine detox weeks before I actually ever spoke about it. So I didn't like, see the trend, make a video and say like, oh, I tried dopamine detoxing for 30. No, I didn't do that. What I did was I saw those videos, I saw the trend, I went on a dopamine detox the best way possible. I did it myself. I went onto it in the silence, didn't tell anyone. I didn't even have any subscribers at the time. I had like maybe 40 subscribers and they were all my family in Pakistan and my family here in the UK. I went on a dopamine detox for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And then I made a video about it. I made a video because it changed my life in just 2 weeks. Literally in 2 weeks, bro. I went from being just a normal guy who used to watch porn and masturbate. I went from being a normal guy who used to smoke weed very often and eat junk food and just waste time on Instagram and everything. I decided I was going to go on a dopamine detox with certain rules that I've not seen anyone else speak about, and literally almost instantly it transformed my life. And since that moment, I've been more productive than I've ever been in my entire life. I've become wildly successful. I have a company, I have employees. I can't believe how successful I've become, and it is largely due to the fact that I went on this dopamine detox, but that I didn't follow the clickbait advice. The thing is, this video is not going to get anywhere near the amount of views as the other guys who've got fast-paced editing, and it's a video on dopamine. Come on, man. Like, I had the respect to not put any editing in this video, because if you want to go on a dopamine detox, I'm not going to fry your brain. But like, when you see a video about dopamine detoxing and it's these guys with fast cuts and everything, it's like they clearly don't give a fuck about you, do they? But I digress. The way that I did my dopamine detox was very different because I did not believe the lies that were being told by everyone else that you could reset your brain in 24 hours and all you had to do was this clickbait challenge of like 24 hours of just sitting in a room, hee hee hee. Like, it sounds awesome, it sounds like so exciting. I knew that wasn't going to change anything. When I went on my dopamine detox, I kind of changed it from dopamine detox to almost like dopamine like reduction, where I thought to myself, okay, I'm not just going to do one day to reset my mind and then just go back to my normal fucking life, because that would be horrible. I just suddenly realized that doing those instant gratification activities, porn, video games, junk food, scrolling on Instagram and everything, I realized that I had to just drastically reduce them, if not cut them out completely, for the rest of my life. I didn't see this as a 24-hour challenge or a 1 week little adventure. I saw this as literally the next chapter of my life, where I'm no longer the kind of person who is still in chains by the modern overstimulation that we see today, by the short form content on TikTok. This is when I discovered another term very similar to instant gratification, but it was called delayed gratification. Delayed gratification comes from the things that we do that feel kind of hard and uncomfortable right now, but eventually they go on to make our lives better in the future. And this is the key to self-improvement. This is the key to happiness, to success, money, whatever you want, bro. Chances are whatever you want in life, I promise you it comes from delayed gratification. Whatever you want to avoid in life, like being broke, being like an asshole to your family or to your partner, being fat, being unhealthy. All those things you want to avoid, bro, they're happening because of instant gratification. And all of the things that you want would happen if you dedicate yourself to delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is activities like, for example, exercising. For a lot of people, once you get to a certain point, fair enough. But like for a lot of people, exercising isn't actually fun. Like I'm 9 years into the journey of exercising consistently, of like going to the gym and building a body. So it's fun for me now. But for a long time, it wasn't. For a lot of people, exercising is actually not fun. It's actually something that requires discipline. How interesting is that? It doesn't feel good right now. It feels bad right now. And yet we do it because we know that it makes our life better in the long term. We sacrifice the short term for the long term. And if there is one phrase that defines successful people, rich people, athletes, it is that they sacrifice the short term for the long term. If there's one phrase that defines overweight people, broke people, angry, emotional people, assholes, it's that they sacrifice the long term for the short term. Now you understand this and you probably agree with the concept here, but there will be something in the instant gratification activity like bucket that you don't want to give up, that you will fight tooth and nail for, that you will save with so certainty is not instant gratification. You will say, perhaps it's video games, maybe it's anime. It's one of those usually for young men. Nope, no. Video games is absolutely fine. 1 hour at the end of the day is still fine. It's absolutely fine. The thing is, a lot of guys say that. At least for me, I personally wasn't able to live like that. If you enjoy video games as much as I did, I don't believe that you could ever play 1 hour. A lot of people have told me they only play 1 hour a day at the end of the hard day, and it's not like that bad because they've done all their work and stuff. And I just think either maybe they're mistaken, maybe it's not 1 hour, maybe it's more like 2 to 3. And if it is genuinely 1 hour, they're probably not enjoying it that much, because I really enjoyed video games a lot. I have over 10,000 hours on RuneScape, 3,000 hours on like other games. There's no way I was playing 1 hour a day, bro. It's just not going to happen. For me, video games was a very like 0 or 100. And there's a lot of other guys who feel the exact same way. So we had to cut it out completely. Maybe you're someone who can manage it absolutely perfectly fine. Maybe still even then just consider cutting it out. Just because it is inherently something that's bad for you, that's addictive, that's time consuming. And you might say, well, but what if I just want to have balance in my life? And you could. But then this isn't really the video for that. This dopamine detoxing is a very extreme thing to do. It's like you want to change, you want to have a new chapter of your life. You're tired of being just like a normal person, and you want to become the 1%. You want to get to the point of your success and your wealth and your richness, that you're making so much money that you can help your family through these hard financial times, because that's not coming. When you're playing 1 hour of video games a day, that's probably not going to happen. If you have that level of need, of burning desire to like really be productive, you need to be extreme. Dopamine detoxing is extreme, and it seems to offend and insult the people who prefer to have a balanced lifestyle. And I don't say this to be insulting, but I know a couple of quite a fair amount of like successful people now. You see how many subscribers I've got, like, and obviously I've done networking with other people and everything. I don't know really that many successful people who aren't extreme. The people who want to live a balanced lifestyle often have like balanced results as well. And they make enough to like live, but to still struggle in these times. They've got like an okay physique. They're not muscular. They're not really in great shape. They're just kind of in shape. They're not out of shape. So yeah, it could be nice to live a mundane life. You can see I'm not a fan of that. Maybe someone else is, and maybe they'll be like, yeah, like balance is amazing. I'd rather be balanced than just have like, 17% body fat and not that much muscle, because that sounds amazing. But I don't know, maybe I'm just being offensive. But so the way that I did my dopamine detox then was that I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to cut out all of the instant gratification, because if I do, eventually I'll go back to it. So what I said to myself was that I would do a drastic reduction in the instant gratification activities, junk food, porn and everything. And I would, somewhat try to cut it out completely, but I wouldn't force that. I wouldn't see myself as a failure if I couldn't cut it out completely. I would just drastically try to reduce it. And likewise, very, very importantly, which a lot of these other guys did, when I was watching all these videos, it just, like, you can see I'm still kind of pissed off about the dopamine detox videos, because I don't think they really helped me or anyone else. Maybe I'm wrong here, but they were literally just entertaining videos to watch, which kind of defeats the point of dopamine detoxing. I didn't find any good education from them. What I realized was that dopamine detoxing is not just about, reducing or eliminating the bad dopamine, the instant gratification activities, porn, video games and everything. It's also likewise equally as important, if not more important, of drastically increasing the delayed gratification activities. Because the reason, like, we're not just cutting out pleasure for the sake of it. That might be a good practice to do for, a sense of stoicism, but we're cutting out pleasure for purpose. There needs to be a purpose for this dopamine detox. So what is the purpose? For me, it was to level up in this business. At first, when I first started this channel 2 years ago, it was solely just a business. It's become a global movement of young men who have taken back control of their lives now. But at the time, in May 2020, when I really started uploading to this channel, I literally just did it just because I just wanted some money, because I was broke, and I just moved back home to my parents' house, and I just wanted to make like £1,000 a month online. And that was what I began to spend my time with. What I did, which I'm still impressed by, having been like literally just a procrastinator for all of my life, not a productive person. When I got onto this dopamine detox, what I did, which absolutely blew my mind, was I wrote down a timetable, like a schedule for when I would do things. And I still have a variation of that on my phone, which I'll just briefly show you. You don't need to like see it exactly and, like pause the video to just, because I'll explain it to you. So it's not like that important of what I've wrote down. It's just the concept of it. Let me just find it for you here. So this is what it looks like. I'll read it out to you. What I have on there doesn't matter. You literally just need to see a glimpse of how the structure is, right? So what's on there doesn't matter. All the structure that matters, like all you need to pay attention to, is on the left-hand side, there's the time, and on the right-hand side, there's like the tasks that I'll do. That's it. You don't need to see what I've put there because it's very individual for each person. But what it was, that every single day, I just follow as best as I could this timetable. 5 a.m. wake up, 5:30 morning routine, 6 a.m. gym, 9 a.m. post-workout meal, 9:30 record, like every single day following the exact same thing. And of course, your day changes and, life gets in the way, that's fine. But my idea was that if I write down my absolute ideal 10 out of 10 productive, crazy productive day, and I try and follow it as best as I can, and I end up following it for 50% of the day, that's still incredibly better than my usual days when I would just wake up and smoke weed, isn't it? If this was my perfect day, and I only followed it for 30% of the day, it's hard to quantify, but let's just say 30% of the day, that would still be better than the normal days I was having before my dopamine detox. But now I've kind of made the rule that, I'm going to try my best to stay away from the instant gratification activities that were taking so much of my time. I suddenly had nothing else to do than to just follow this timetable. Now, again, of course, there was times when I just did the bad things. I spent an extra hour by accident just watching stupid YouTube videos, or some back then 2 years ago, I was on Tinder trying to get laid and stuff. So I'd be on Tinder, just spending time on Tinder, messaging a bunch of girls and going on to text messages and everything. But largely, I followed it as best as I could, and I started to see insane progress, not even in the business and the work I was doing here and the money that I was making, but also in my physique, but best of all, in my mental health. I didn't realize just how much the instant gratification activities like video games, this is why I'm so heavily against video games, even though I know how fun they can be. I didn't realize how much it was negatively affecting my mental health up until I fully stopped. It was once I fully stopped and I stopped coping and saying what if I just play a little bit? What if I just make a new account on RuneScape and I start killing other people, I go do PvP, and what if I try this and this and this? Once I fully stopped coping, I had such a boost to my mental health because something's just clicked. You might not be able to relate to this if you still play video games, but a lot of the guys who have quit will relate. Something clicked. And I was like, oh, real life is really like a video game. Why have I been leveling up for thousands of hours in the virtual world when I can go level up in real life? Suddenly I became so much happier just from this realization of just saving time and actually wanting to improve in real life instead of just putting all my focus into improving in a video game. What I realized was that even playing 1 hour a day wasn't okay. Playing 1 hour a day wasn't fine, because with just 1 hour a day, it's I would displace some of my masculine urge to improve and level up into the game instead. I didn't want that to sap my urge to level up. So when I completely stopped playing video games, it's I still had this urge, this masculine, if you're a man, you have this masculine desire to like progress, to level up. When that's not being stolen from you from video games, it's like suddenly just automatically you start making progress in real life. It's just how it works being a man. If you have no distractions as a man, you literally will just start making progress. But when you have distractions, when you have video games, when you have anime, when you have porn, your focus is just diverse everywhere. And suddenly your real life just goes to shambles. Another thing, which was a huge one, which is relevant right now, was my diet. For a long time, I was a binge eater. For literally most of my life. Binge eating comes from like poor mental health. I had a very like traumatic, abusive childhood, and even more sort of like traumatic experiences as an adult, which kind of like fucked up my mental space. And I had like extreme anxiety. And this isn't one of those cases of, like someone telling you they've got mental health issues. Hey, like I wasn't taking medications for it, but like I didn't even know, like I wasn't like identifying as someone with mental health issues at the time. It was only afterwards when I realized what it was. But yeah, like I had extreme anxiety. I had like, like intrusive violent thoughts. So imagine I'd be going about my day and just suddenly get a violent thought about hurting someone. And I'd visually see myself like hurting like someone who's being racist to me. That was what happened to me, like the traumatic incident when I was 19 years old. I had like two racist guys like fully like follow me onto like a train and try and hurt me. And maybe you can relate to, not that story exactly, but like maybe you can relate to this feeling of just getting random thoughts which are very negative, very violent, very aggressive, very self-deprecating. That was happening to me so often for most of my life. And it was just, I was just living like it. I didn't realize that, I was never aware that that was like a real mental health problem, because I was just always lived like that. And it was only when I went on this dopamine detox and I had so much free time and energy, and my mind wasn't going on to these platforms and video games and Instagram and everything. Suddenly I then had the awareness to just ask myself again, like why is that happening? And so I started researching it. I started learning online about mental health, and suddenly like I actually gained like a very good understanding of depression and anxiety, and these concepts which I talk about today, like dopamine detox and instant gratification, delayed gratification. I got like a pretty good understanding of it, and suddenly I just realized like, oh, mental health is a skill that I can level up. And now that I have time and energy, and my dopamine levels are like getting back to normal, I actually had the desire to literally spend time meditating and journaling and just learning about mental health. I remember I literally just went on Google and started searching for like mental health lectures and everything. And I learned quite a lot like that. And to think that I'm 25, but like 23-year-old me was spending time watching mental health university lectures just blows my mind, because for most of my life, like I wasn't into education. I always thought that was like gay. I always thought that was like weird. I didn't even plan to show you this, but bro, right next to me, I have a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like I didn't think I'd show you, and I just had it next to me. Like I love learning now. One of the best parts of being on the dopamine detox is that you just like to do the good habits because you aren't doing the bad ones. The reason why I enjoy learning so much and reading books so much is because it's one of the most fun things that I do. If suddenly I played 1 hour of video games a day, if suddenly I went on TikTok or Instagram or watched porn, those things would be so fun and enjoyable. Even though, we say those things are bad, the thing is like, they are fucking enjoyable. They are extremely addictive, aren't they? They're so pleasurable to like our sort of animal brain that then you can't even enjoy the smaller things in life, like just reading a book. And that's exactly what happened with my diet. I fried like if that's the scientific term of like my dopamine receptors in terms of my diet. For a long time, I was just eating like a child, like junk food, snacks, sweets, pizza, just quick stuff that you could just like throw in quickly because you were like being lazy. That's all I really ate for most of my life. And suddenly, I wasn't technically allowed to eat that anymore because I was on this dopamine detox. I can't really eat like, junk food, so I've got to start eating clean. Again, I had the desire to learn. And so for the first time in my life, I started to research nutrition. So I started to watch like nutritional lectures, and I realized what food actually does to you. And this literally blew my mind because I had been into fitness, weightlifting, building muscle for years. And I'd always followed the fitness influencers, like the YouTubers I saw, and I'd always listen to them when they told me, yeah, calories in, calories out, just eat whatever you want, protein, carbs and fats and stuff. So I did that. If it fits your macros, I did that where you just track the macros on this app called MyFitnessPal. I always did that and thought, yeah, well, that's what everyone's saying. Then when I started to actually research nutrition, and I'm not going to lie, I only researched it for a couple of hours, I realized that none of these fitness influencers actually knew anything what they were talking about. Because this idea that like, oh, calories in, calories out, all calories are the same. Like, once you do 20 minutes of research onto nutrition and you hear the same phrase like, oh, calories in, calories out, you'll just think, yeah, they're actually stupid. And I don't say that to be horribly offensive, but like, they're actually like, you know what, I'm going to be a little bit insulting. They're actually brain dead, some of these fitness influencers. They've got to be stupid to believe calories in, calories out. Like, oh, but it's physics. The laws, bro, the human body does not work with physics. It's biology. It's biochemistry. What actually matters is what this nutrition is doing to our hormones. None of the fitness influencers know anything more than just, oh, calories and like 76 grams of protein. So I started researching this and I realized that all my life I was eating the stuff that like these guys promoted to me, you know, Krispy Kreme donuts and everything. And I realized that, oh, that stuff's not actually healthy for you. Just because these fitness influencers with muscle who are lean are showing it doesn't mean that it's healthy. I realized whatever you eat just has an effect on your hormones. And when you eat shitty junk food, your hormones get fucked. And your intelligence literally drops. You literally like become less smart the worse junk food that you eat. I was watching all of this nutritional like data and, you know, this research and lectures and stuff, just thinking like, I wish someone told me this message after I've suffered from years of binge eating when I turned into like a weightlifter, going to the gym, trying to get protein and just like eating carbs and cereal, because that's what all these fitness YouTubers were telling me to do, eat cereal before my workout and stuff. Then I've learned that, oh yeah, sugar skyrockets your insulin. Insulin is a hormone that we don't want that high. And when your insulin goes up, your leptin hormone goes down. And when your leptin hormone goes down, you don't feel as full. Like leptin is like the hormone that is created in your body to signal that you're done eating and you're full. When you eat sugar, your insulin goes up, your leptin goes down. When you eat sugar, that literally means that you literally feel less full, and that causes you to overeat. There's no fitness YouTuber out there who knew this shit. Like, they're just eating fucking cereal and stuff and wondering why they keep binge eating after all of their like fitness competitions and stuff. They want, like, you know, they get a lot of views, so you know, you can say it's a business advantage. But you see these fitness YouTubers do a 10,000 calorie challenge every month. They're not doing it because of like, oh, it's a good thing to do. They're not doing it because of like science or some shit. They're doing it because they can't control themselves, and so they cope and they're like, oh well, yeah, I really want to binge eat because I've got bad mental health and they're eating shit food. Oh well, I may as well do a 10,000 calorie challenge. So along the same time, not only did I drastically improve my diet, my physique just transformed in front of my eyes. I had like somewhat of a fairly okay physique for someone who had been training for a while. But it was around this time in my dopamine detox days where I fully just got shredded for the first time ever. And it was hard for me to gain extra fat. With the diet that I went on, bro, the diet that I went on and the workout routine that I went on, it became so hard for me. Like, it literally was hard for me to gain weight. I shredded all the fat that I had, packed on lean muscle mass, which all these fitness YouTubers said it was impossible to gain lean muscle mass. That's exactly what happened. Why? Because I started eating clean. It shouldn't blow your mind, but literally for the first time in my life, I started eating clean. I literally just ate meat and vegetables. And like the most like unhealthy thing that I ate was like oats. Oats aren't even that, you know, they're quite heavily processed because they're like obviously not natural ingredients, but they're not really that unhealthy. That was it. Just meat and vegetables, that's pretty much all I was just eating. No longer eating cereal. No longer ordering fast food like all these YouTubers who say, oh, you know, I just ordered from like KFC or some shit. No longer doing that. Lean meat, vegetables, got shredded, got strong. My athleticism kicked up into overdrive. For the first time in my life, actually was able to like run, control my breathing whilst running, do like a whole new style of exercise called the gymnastic rings, and I did those workouts. Discipline skyrocketed. Alongside that, but switching over to this diet had such a huge impact onto my brain. I have a slight fear that I'll get cancelled. I probably won't, because we're 29 minutes into this video. Probably won't. Maybe it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but like, the modern diet is extremely, extremely silly. The modern diet that we have. The average person eats what they think isn't that bad. You don't, and you know, the thing is, most people with diets, They only think about what it does to their body, don't they? Of how they look, how much fat they've gained. That's it. That's most people's thinking. You realize that what you eat has a huge impact on your brain, and perhaps the single greatest reason why you feel tired, why you feel like you don't have energy, why you feel like a struggle with, learning something in your studies or doing some work, and why you procrastinate. You've always been thinking it's about like productivity tips that you need to try and do, the Pomodoro technique, that it's about like you need to incentivize yourself to like sit down and do 25 minutes of work. It's not that, bro. The reason why most people can't do any good work, the reason why most people's brains are just not that good, is because of their diets, because they're just eating shitty Western food, like processed junk food, high sugar, refined food, trans fats, fast food, McDonald's and shit. I switched over to just a clean diet of literally just meat and vegetables, and for the first time in my life, I stopped procrastinating. I built a successful business. I went from being on benefits of government welfare. You don't realize how low down, like how much of a rut I was in when I first discovered the dopamine detox. Bro, I was on government welfare. I switched over to the dopamine detox lifestyle, the diet, the hard work. 1 year later, I started making £10,000 per month. A year after that, now we're on about 50, and it's drastically going to increase. And I will say that again, that's per month. My hope with this video is that it spreads out, and that someone who needs to hear it watches it the entire way through. Because dopamine detoxing changed my life forever. And I didn't realize it was as simple as just stopping the bad habits, the instant gratification, and just doing the good habits. You always have that desire through your life to like, stop eating as much junk food. Maybe, go and exercise. Maybe read some books. You've always kind of got it, but you never really take it like that seriously. You always kind of skip it. And you always just like, it's just somewhat in everyone's mind to, maybe I'll go to the gym once a week or so. Everyone kind of knows what they should do, what they shouldn't do, but you never really take it that seriously. Most people say like they're gonna go on a diet and then they don't stick to it, and then they just go back to eating whatever. Most people do the exact same with like just content consumption, just watching overstimulating content, shorts, TikToks and everything. But the point that it got me to, from just the simple act of stopping the bad habits and starting the good, I can't believe that I've got to this position in life. And I'm certainly not the end. I'm not as like successful as I want to be. There's people who are so much more successful and wealthy than I am. And I've become like friends with some guys who are very, very wealthy. And so that, they're impressing me and I want to get to their level. But the fact to think that like I've only been like this for 2 years, I've only been productive. Like I wasn't productive for all of my life. I went to university, but I never studied. I always just like would mind wander, the teacher or the professor's saying something, I'm not even focusing. Imagine being in class, the teacher's, telling you to do shit, or the teacher's like teaching you about something, and your brain's just like talking over them in your mind. You can't even listen to them properly. Like I wanted to listen, do you know what I mean? Through all my time, I wanted to, like through my childhood, my teenage years, my early adult years, like I wanted to be productive. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to be able to get good grades in schools. I just was never able to because my brain was always fried. And yeah, the scientific term doesn't make sense, but bro, I started playing video games when I was like 5 years old. I was playing video games in primary school. I was in primary school when I was 9 years old, unable to listen to the primary school teacher because I was playing video games. In high school, I was unable to listen to the teacher because I was playing video games and my mind was obsessed with it. I would be in class thinking about video games. The rest of the kids around me, especially the girls, started hitting puberty. They're all growing up a little bit. I'm just like still this little boy who's still stuck in the virtual world, unable to even focus on his studies. And like, pursuing like your studies in terms of the education system, I don't think it's a really good idea. I think university is like a scam and everything. But even then, I wanted to still get good grades because I knew that that was like a good thing to do. And I wouldn't study. I wouldn't do my homework. I wasn't able to concentrate in school because in my mind, I was just elsewhere. I was thinking about what I'd do next in RuneScape. My dopamine receptors were fried. I was eating shit food. I wish I could go back, pass a message like this to younger Hamza, and just tell him to just potentially to consider something like this. Consider a new chapter of your life, a new identity, where you drastically reduce how much of the instant gratification that you do. You drastically reduce all of the bad habits and suddenly just start doing all of the good habits. No matter how it makes you feel, you discipline yourself to just literally do all the good habits and just drastically try your absolute best to drastically reduce all of the bad habits. It must be all of them. And there's going to be a certain one that you really don't want to give up, and that's the exact one that if you gave up, your new life would just be unleashed. The reason why I'm saying this so much in this video, that one, there's something that you don't want to give up just right now. Because whatever it is in your mind of the instant gratification activities, whether it's video games or something, it's that one that's going to unleash this new chapter of your life. You don't realize how much you're missing out on up until you go 2-3 weeks without like your main crutch. Because when you do that, and you also have the sort of focus to go and do some of the good habits, you realize just how good life can be. It's 12 p.m. right now. 12 p.m. I've been awake since 5, so it's been 7 hours. I've not ate anything. I've just been drinking water. I've just been recording videos. I've recorded 7 videos this morning. 7 videos. That's a week's worth of content in one morning. In one morning, it's not even like, it's just about lunchtime. By lunchtime, I've done a week's worth of work. This is the dopamine detox lifestyle. I will say that again, and this, I'm not even saying it to you anymore. This is a message to my younger self that by lunchtime, I have done a week's worth of work. Whereas for most of my life, I didn't even do like a day's worth of work in a week's time. I can't explain like how much this transformation means to me. Like I was literally just just a normal guy, just struggling with life and everything. And now I've become successful. I've become like the man of my house. I've retired my father. I've gotten my family's respect. I want that for you. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.